My name's Matthew Rushworth. I work here in the University of Oxford, and I'm interested in studying the brain mechanisms of decision making. So I'm interested in how it is that we carry out an action and how it is that we decide which one of the many actions that are often available to us to pursue right now. I'm not an expert on BFRBs or any other clinical condition. What I really want to understand is how do these brain mechanisms work in each and every one of us. We all have them, but I hope that provides a context in which we can understand BFRBs and many other clinical conditions.
Can you briefly kind of summarise the brain science that you do in primates and give us a sense of where that leaves us in this field?
One of the things that we've known for many decades, in fact for more than a century, is about some parts of the brain that control movement. They're specialized for sending signals out of the brain to control the hands and the limbs. But we've begun more recently to unravel where that brain area gets its instructions from. So we're interested in a number of brain regions that decide what to do now. And some of these brain mechanisms are learning very rational rules to govern our choices. These brain areas are very clever and very flexible. They can learn all sorts of things about how to decide and what to do. But some of them are perhaps more ancient in nature, and they reflect the way in which for many millions of years, humans and our ancestors have had to forage in natural environments and make decisions about whether or not it's profitable or beneficial for us to keep doing the things that we've been doing up to this point, or whether it's time to switch and change and do something else. And so we're interested in these mechanisms for repeating our choices, switching and doing something else, brain mechanisms for controlling how quickly we act, and brain mechanisms that respond to how good an environment we think we're in.
It's a long way down the line from the kind of work you do to a kind of practical implementation of an intervention for somebody with a BFRB.
Yep.
I'm interested in your thoughts on whether brain stimulation is potentially a part of that kind of treatment suite that we develop over the next few decades.
So I think that there is a possibility for that. So we've been using brain stimulation methods. We've mainly been using them with animals, but we now feel that we can translate some of them to humans. And our goal is really, again, just to look at fundamental mechanisms in humans, not to start carrying out clinical interventions, but I think it is possible that they might be part of the mix in the future. There are lots of ways in which they might be refined. I think that will take many years or decades to do. But some of the approaches that we use are appealing because they allow us to stimulate the brain non-invasively. They don't need surgery or anything like that. And we have mechanisms for manipulating the brain already. These are drugs. Sometimes they're not the right thing to use, but sometimes they're helpful. And maybe in the future, some of these stimulation techniques, we might discover that they're useful, perhaps they won't be, but if they're not useful in the clinic, they'll certainly be important for helping us understand how the brain works.